Sarah.
And this is Coda.
If you like these stories, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment which city you're watching from. Hello? Is anyone there?
Hello? Is anyone here?
Ini apa? Nang ore gara nana. Ina cigiring ing nang taging.
Hi, I'm Sarah.
And this is Coda.
If you like these stories, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment which city you're watching from.
Okay. Tại cái tình hình đó là một việc lắm.